How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Blue Shifting. Welcome back to Legend of Heroes Trail in the Sky, 3rd chapter. So, we are about to start chapter 5 of the game, which really feels like things are kicking off because we got the dark stigma, the stigma thing that's going on, and looks like that's, yeah. So, based on, like, a little tidbits I've heard through the comments and ultimately, like, the game, the stigma was something that was used as a way to kind of coerce and brainwash Joshua, right? By Weissman. But we now see that Kevin has one. And I remembered after recording last time that Weissman specifically like pokes fun at Kevin saying like, you would know something about a stigma, wouldn't you? So it probably is like a tactic and a tool that's been utilized by the church before. In fact, Weissman used to be part of the church. Maybe that's kind of where he got the idea of using a stigma, was from being a part of the church. So, how involved is a stigma for a person? So, like for instance, can Kevin be compelled? Because he's been given it as a way of manifesting power, and that's useful. But if it's something that's inscribed on a person's soul, and that can be utilized to convince and potentially push somebody to do something that they would be against their nature. Remember, Joshua was nearly about to execute Estelle, which he never would do if he had control of himself in any way. So, can Kevin be pushed to that? Are some of the Gralsritters, like, basically just, you know, agents, like, right? Like maybe you join up in the right mind and you have this trust in your leadership that they won't abuse a stigma because it unlocks a great potential power in you. But you also have to know deep down that you are basically enslaved to whoever applies that stigma. So that's pretty sketchy, right? It also is kind of interesting though, because you could argue that like that's why they've hidden the information about it, because it can only be used in trusted hands. But the problem is what if somebody untrustworthy gets their hands on that knowledge, or someone who becomes the head of the Gralsritters becomes, you know, volatile, or decides to do stuff that would be against like the norm? Kind of like how Colonel Richard, you know, was convinced that he needed to protect Liberl by committing a coup. What if somebody in the Gralsritters wanted to believe that the best thing to help save the world was to execute world leaders using the sleeper agents, basically, bearers of stigma, who might not even you might even be able to like wipe the memory of. I don't know. The rules of a stigma haven't been established, but it's like that. Like, it's such a fascinating idea, and I love this kind of morally gray angle of like, yeah, these are people who are dedicated to doing what's right, but their willingness to do things that are pretty much against the principles that they're supposed to be upholding is a very interesting take. I really like it. So, yeah, the reason why we're even here at this title screen is because we're like, when I load, it jumps right into a chapter. In fact, one thing I don't like about the games, but I get why it does it, is as soon as I save, it jumps into the next chapter. But I've learned to hard quit. Like, as soon as I save and it starts to move in, I like force the game to close. So I have no idea what happens after, which is good. So we're gonna basically load up the game and jump right into the beginning of chapter 5. My plan is to like have the initial, probably talk to people and look around the garden, and then we're gonna go through the Estelle door. There's two of them. There's the game door and then there's the story door. I want to go through the story door today, and then we'll potentially do the game door, depending on how quick that door, the story door is. Usually they're pretty long, so I doubt we're gonna be leaving that right away. In fact, it might be one of the longer ones that might take 2 parts. I'm not sure, but I want to do the fishing minigame after that, and then we'll jump into the next, you know, major phase of the story. So that's my plan for today. Hope you guys don't mind. Let's jump right in, shall we? All right, here we go. Kevin's out for the count, it seems. Oh.
顔を上げろ。ケビン・グラハム。
Who's this? Oh, maybe this is him getting a stigma?
セルナード教官。
やつれたな。
I ain't still not.
食事どころか水分の補給すらろくにしていないそうじゃないか。報告は聞いている。ルフィナのことは残念だった。
This is after she died.
だが不幸な事故というものは往々にして起こるものだ。
Yeah.
我々のような手合いには 特にな。
殺して
Oh, gee.
くださ
Kevin.
何？
い。もう俺が騎士としてやっていく意味なんてない。
Honestly, that's not good that you were signing up to be a knight just for her.
それどころか生きてる意味すらも。教官にやったら文句はないです。痛みを感じる暇もなく人思いにやってくれそうですし。
わかった。いいだろう。なんて言うとでも思ったか。
I mean, I don't know how you would respond to that, but I mean, that's a response.
痛みを感じる暇もなく人思いに殺してほしいだと？笑わせるな。君にそんな権利があるとでも思っているのか。その血と肉を必要の断りに魂を女神に捧げたはずの君にそんな泣き言が言えるくらいなら、さすがの私も今回ばかりはいささかためらわれたからね。
Oh, gosh.
銃騎士ケビン・グラハム、本日をもって帰港。ドミニオン第5位に迎える。
Oh, interesting. So, like, that seems like a fifth of Dominion. Now, it's funny, these Dominions, it kind of reminds me of the Ouroboros, right? Because they have, like, the different numbering systems. So, again, it's like the church and Ouroboros are reflective organizations, having far more in common than they probably are comfortable with. Maybe the origins of one propagated the other. I would argue that most likely the church started and originated and was constructed, and Ouroboros is the, like, twisted mirror of them. But who knows? Maybe Ouroboros is actually longer, far older than we expect.
これは風星省による決定事項であり、法王芸家もすでに承認されたことだ。
Yeah, fetch me. She's like, I was coming here to tell you you've been, like, promoted. And now you're asking me to just like send you on your way into the afterlife. That's stupid. Like, what?
君とてここ数十年、第5位が空位だったのは噂程度には知っているだろう。
Oh, interesting.
おめでとう。君がその第5位だったわけだ。これで君と私は同格。
Whoa, that does feel weird, doesn't it, actually? Like, I mean, we know in hindsight Kevin's a pretty good guy, and he's even willing to do stuff even if he doesn't want to do it, good of the realm, good of humanity or whatever. But this is interesting. He's at his lowest point, where he feels like life's not worth living, and he's being granted probably one of the highest stations in the church, and he's still so young. That's very unusual.
長らく主のいなかった5号機もようやく日の目を見るというものだ。
Merkaba, what is that?
なんや。
ああ、それと守護騎士は自らあだ名を名乗る習いでね。君も今のうちに適当に考えておくといいだろう。
Okay, so
ちなみに私のそれは知っての通りカーネリア。味もそっけもないものだがな。
oh yeah, so that's just like a flavor name, and that's what the book's been made about, like it was her.
そんなこと聞いてるんやない。
Having witnessed enough management in my time, terrible and good, that might be why it's actually good you have it, man. Like, I know you won't see it that way, but honestly, one of the saddest things is that the worst people to give power to are those that seek it. And yet, because they're the only ones that tend to go for it, you usually don't have a great pool of choices. So sometimes being able to pick somebody who doesn't want power to be given it is the best thing you can do, because they're the ones that are most likely to be responsible with it, that are not willing to, twist and bend rules in order to get what they want. Politicians scratch backs and have their backs scratched and, do favors and shake hands and all of that to make sure they can get where they want, because they want that power and authority and that prestige and that money and access to information. Sometimes it would almost be better if we could just picked the person we thought was best, regardless of whether they wanted it. I don't know. There's no perfect system, though. Not that I can see.
なんで俺がそんな姉さんをルフィナ姉さんを
Oh, was he with her when she died? Oh gosh, that must have been horrible.
それは特に問題ではない。問題はルフィナ・アルジェントが極めて優秀な騎士だったということだ。聖痕が現れなかったとはいえ、彼女の問題解決能力は時に守護騎士をも凌駕していた。
Weird. She might not have manifested a stigma. Okay. That's really interesting, because that's implying a stigma is something that somebody can have already a part of them. And so maybe Wyson made an artificial stigma? That's odd. Like, I genuinely thought that a stigma was artificial by its, like, very nature. That it was something that was inscribed on somebody. So the fact that this is implying not either means that there's a fundamental aspect to stigmas that I don't understand. That they are a naturally occurring thing, and that Wyson was able to force or transplant one somehow. Or the lore, even amongst the higher echelons, is that they're natural, but the secret might be that they're artificial. The stigmas are the mystery I really want to know more about now.
その損失に見合うだけの働きを第5位には期待しておこう。枢機卿閣下のお言葉だよ。
Oh, wow.
なんやそれ。なんやそれは。俺がルフィナ姉さんを守りたくて騎士になったこの俺が。
Oh, that is really, that is a grim humor right there, actually. That's, man. It's definitely one of those, like, you can't help but laugh because the alternative is just breaking.
その姉さんを食い物にして守護騎士に選ばれるやと。傑作や。傑作すぎて笑い死んでまうわ。
It hurts. This genuinely, like, what fantastic voice acting and voice work, right? Because, like, even though it's in a language I don't fully understand, and I'm seeing a translation of it, but at the same time, it's like you can feel it. The actor did a great job of that feeling of like that mania, that dancing on the precipice of just true madness that he must be going through right now.
Sate, どうする？ちなみに君にはこの要請を辞退する権利がある。もっとも騎士団1000年の歴史で守護騎士に選ばれながら辞退した者はただの一人もいないという話だがね。
I almost wonder if she said secretly hopes he does. Basically, after seeing him like this.
そうでしょうな。ドミニオン第5位。謹んで拝命させてもらいます。
That would almost worry me more.
早速今日からでも仕事を回してくれて結構ですわ。
Oh. I think he's doing the, like, I will work myself, throw myself into dangerous situations, because someday it'll kill me. And that's what I want / deserve. That's his viewpoint. It's like, you know what? Might as well go out with a bang. You know? Don't be a coward. Do the work that Rafita cares so much about. But we'll take on the riskiest of risks. We'll throw ourselves into danger willingly and be ready to embrace the end when it comes.
そうか。わかった。そう取り計らおう。
なあ。回すんならなるべくハードなのを頼みます。
Right. Exactly.
おっと。それから、下法狩り。そんな感じで行くとしますわ。
Heretic Hunter. Chapter 5, Labyrinth of Shadows and Light. Interesting. That's the one thing that's sad about having to do, not having to do, but me like being so much like, oh, do the doors as soon as they're available is like, I'm really excited to see the next realm. Cause like, it feels like it's been building up to this. Like this is going to be some kind of major point. I don't think it'll be the end based on like the map, but I do feel like this is going to be a very impactful one. That this chapter in particular is a very like critical one, and maybe where we're going to start finally getting some answers.
そっか、そんなことがあったんだ。
So good to have you back, Estelle.
しかしまあ、聞けば聞くほど信じられないことばかりって感じね。
Oh, yeah.
ただ見えてきたことも結構あると思うんだ。この場所が影の国という不思議な法則によって構成された世界であるということ、そして僕たちが何らかの理由で選ばれて取り込まれたということ。
Well, it really makes sense. The best criteria that we could really draw is that all of you went to the Liberl arc. That seems to be like the real like clincher.
そしてそれを踏まえた上で改めて疑問が整理できると言える。
Well, that's not true though. Ries is the exception. Like, is there something that they all share that Ries also shares? So far, we know so little about her. We can't be clear.
疑問その1、影の王及び黒騎士の正体は？
Well, I'm pretty sure Gralsritter is the resurrected or the not so dead, but even though we thought he was dead. Crap. Leon.
疑問その2、宝石及び女性の霊の正体は？
Yeah, that's true.
疑問その3、影の国の成り立ちと真相は？
And Phantasm, my guess is that this is a space that is very similar to what the Liberl arc was. The Liberl arc was like banished to another planar space, and all the towers, the tetracycle towers, also had planar spaces tied to them. I think we're inside one of those. And again, I still think that my original idea is holding out, that this is a prison, that the cube or like the original like artifact we found was a prison for somebody that was considered too powerful and had to be locked away from the ancient times, like before the Liberl arc was like vanished. Maybe the Liberl arc itself recognized him as a threat and locked him away. You know, if you have an entity that can survive death or can circumvent death, imprisonment's the only option you've got. And so like that's what I think it could be.
確かに疑問はつきませんが、大別するとその3つに整理できそうな気がしますね。
Exactly.
ありえない魔物が徘徊している理由なんかは3番目に入るってことか。
なるほど。そう言われると色々と見えてきたかも。あれ、でもケビンさんが気絶したことはどう関係してくるのかな。聞いた限りだと巨大な悪魔とやり合った時のことが原因みたいな気がするけど。
俺たちを拘束していたあの結界を破った力。
He's done that. I choked there. He's done that before. Like, remember, he's broken barriers before and utilized like the power we now can see most likely was related to a stigma. But why this time did it nearly well, no, it didn't nearly. Why did it incapacitate him?
そしてその時に現れた赤い文様みたいな光。
Yeah. Joshua, got anything to say here?
あれ、一体何だったんでしょう。
さすがにそれは僕にも見当がつかないね。七葉教会に伝わっている法術あたりかもしれないが。
Thaumaturgy, interesting. Oh, yeah, see?
ヨシは何か心当たりでもあるの？
そうだね。確信は持てないけど、あれは多分スティグマだと思う。
Yeah.
それってヨシアの肩に出ていた。
あれは教授が僕を制御するために深層意識に埋め込んだイメージが肉体に現れていたものだったんだ。
You say mind, but that's understating it. It was inscribed on your soul, like your very essence.
ケビンさんのあれも同じ。
That's the thing. Again, you say save the control factor. Maybe that's going to be the case because the writers are saying it here, but we don't know that. It really could be a control factor as well. It just never isn't. It's just never typically applied, and probably most people in the church themselves don't even know it has a control factor.
ただし、僕に刻まれたものよりも
はるかに強力なものじゃないかと思う。
よく気づきましたね。
Oh, hey, Ries.
リースさん。
そのケビンさんの調子はどう？
ええ、小康状態といったところです。ただし精神に過度の負荷がかかったようなので、しばらく休ませておきます。
そっか。
やれやれ、ヒヤヒヤさせてくれるわね。
しかしリースさん、精神に負荷ということは。
ええ、お察しの通り精魂です。ただしあなたに刻まれていたものと違い、彼のそれは原型と言えるもの。
Okay. So it's an original. Maybe so what she called about like the name was the stigma itself. But it sounds like so it was designed and the one that was based on so Weisman was using that as a foundation to understanding a stigma, but how's that work again? Like they feel very blatantly artificial.
ドミニオンにのみ現れると言われる魂の刻印です。
守護騎士？
聞いたことがある。
Of course you have.
聖杯騎士団を統率する12名の特別な騎士たち。
Yeah, 12 knights versus the Ouroboros, like whatever, 16 or something.
噂では一人一人が恐るべき異能を持つという。
ええ、その通りです。そしてその異能とは各々の精魂の力によるもの。通常では考えられないような肉体の強化や高度な砲術の使用を可能にしてくれる力の源泉です。
In fact, you know, the Ouroboros, like the agents, oh shoot, what are they called? I know they have a specific name, but maybe why they're so strong. What if they have like these kind of artificial stigmas as well? Maybe that's part of the whole point of how these Ouroboros agents like operate, why they're so strong.
ケビンはその精魂を持つ12名の守護騎士の一人、第5位の異界を持つ人間です。
なんだか別の人の話を聞いてるみたいですね。
Yeah.
それではケビンさんもヨシアさんと同じように何らかの処置を受けて。
いえ、本来の精魂は意図して埋め込まれるといったものではありません。
Interesting. Okay, then that also could be like maybe the members of Ouroboros have stigma; they're just naturally occurring, but they get recruited because of either they've manifested their stigma or because the potential's there and somebody can recognize it.
あくまで自然発生的に現れるものだとされています。
Interesting. That's kind of cool. So there's been considered. So again, there's that. Okay, that does seem like it's more natural, and those stigma are there. Then what did they have to bestow upon him? Like, what was different between him before and after he was like made a dominion?
そして守護騎士の数は歴史を通じて常に12名。どの時代にも必ず精魂を宿す者がどこかに現れて守護騎士になると言われています。
That's kind of cool. That could lead to some very interesting stories. The idea of like an unknown person wandering around holding a stigma in their soul but has never manifest, maybe because they've never been pushed to their limit.
なんだか不思議な話ね。それじゃあヨシアにあった精魂っていうのは。
That was artificial one.
あれは多分本来の精魂を疑似的に再現したものじゃないかと思う。
But we should be terrified that they had the ability to do that, because even if Weisman's gone, I doubt his information's gone. So the idea that there could be artificial stigmas running around is definitely a possibility.
かつてワイスマンは七王教会の人間だったからね。
そんなこと言ってたわね。
配信者ワイスマンは聖杯騎士団の上位にある風星省に所属する司教でした。
Yeah.
彼は司教職にある時から見喰らう蛇に通じており、様々な秘跡を盗み出したようです。
Oh wow, I didn't realize it was that long. I thought he like was happily in the church and then got disillusioned or something.
守護騎士の精魂に関する膨大な文献と研究もその一つ。彼はそれらを参考に意図的に超人を作り出す技術を結社で完成させたと推測されています。
やはり。
本来の精魂がどういうものであるのかはなんとなく分かったが、しかしどうしてケビン神父はそれで倒れることになったのかな。精魂というものはその力を引き出すにあたってそこまでのリスクを伴うのかい？
I wonder if it's this place. It feels like the Phantasm, like, mastermind, whatever. It feels like he wanted to push him to that limit. Like, he set up a situation to force Kevin to manifest it, because he seemed very happy that Kevin had manifested finally. Like, it was some part of his plan. Like, he needed a stigma to activate. Maybe it seems to have at least his stigma seems to have the ability to break bonds. And if my theory is correct that this is a prison for that Phantasm guy, that mastermind, then maybe he intends to use Kevin to break the prison open. You know, kind of lead them down this path and then get them to a point where they can open the gate and like, kind of like let themselves out. And that's kind of like why he's like he's like gathered these people in here, is because, like, you know, like the impossible choice Kevin has to make is either like keep imprisoned a true, like, very dangerous enemy, something that could potentially destroy the world if he gets out, because he's just too dangerous, has too much ancient knowledge and even modern knowledge, because like all these like modern books keep appearing in here. So there's potential that he has enough knowledge that he could not only adjust to being on the outside of the world, but could immediately take over. Perhaps he could even like join Orbal, since he now knows they'd probably be happy to have him and he could just take over. So the choice becomes, does he break he and his friends out, letting them have their lives, but unleashing like one of the most vile evils in the world, or do his duty, which would be to contain the heretic at all costs, including at the cost of all these lives that he's now bonded to? You know what, maybe that's the common denominator, actually. What if it's always been about Kevin, specifically Kevin? Like, as soon as he touched the cube initially and it did that initial flash and activation, that was like the mastermind getting a glimpse at him, and it saw all of the most powerful connections he had. So personal connection, which he didn't have too many of, and then recent connections that he's forged with his friends and people he's fought alongside in the most recent life or death struggle. So then it pulls all of them in, and he's going to use them as leverage to make Kevin use his stigma to break the barriers holding the prison together. Because Kevin's stigma might be one of the only forces that can truly destroy this place. I think that's probably how this is going to play out. That's my prediction now. Based on what we're hearing here and kind of my thoughts on all of this, is basically, that's the idea. Is like Kevin's going to be forced to make the choice between his duty and his friendship and love.
それは理由はわかりませんが、ケビンは聖魂の力を滅多には解放しないそうです。唯一それを解放するのは下法を狩る時のみ。後戻りできない滞在人を処分する時だけと聞いています。
Oh, that's tough. It's tough to make that call.
処分なんか物騒な話だね。
Ominous is the word.
そいつはともかく、要するに滅多に使わない力をいきなり使ったせいで目を回しちまったってとこか。
そうなのかもしれません。
I also think it might be this place, honestly, though. This place has got weird powers and stuff, and a stigma might be a bit more powerful here than usual because we're closer to these like divine realms, like this like Gehenna and maybe like the paradise or whatever they call heaven, and maybe a stigma because it's a spiritual type of power. It might have a much more strong resonance in this area. Maybe it was a little too much.
なるほど。ケビン殿の事情は了解した。しかし、いいのか？我々に話してしまっても。
はい。すでにケビンも皆さんには一通り説明するつもりだった様子。私も今後の探索を進める上で皆さんの協力を得るために必要なことであると判断しました。
Of course, if we survive this, I guarantee you that church agents are going to be keeping a close eye on every one of us.
そっか。もしかして。
はい。しばらくの間は私がケビンの代わりを務めます。探索の記録も含め。
なるほどな。
でもいいんですか？リースさん、ケビンさんのこと本当は看病していたいんじゃ。
倒れる前、ケビンは私に宝石を託しました。ならばこれも重騎士の務め。どうか気にせず、皆さんに協力させてください。
Alright.
リースさん。
そういうことならあえて反対する理由はあるまい。
ケビンさんのことならどうか心配しないでください。残ったメンバーで分担してみることにすれば大丈夫です。
はい。どうかよろしくお願いします。
What?
エステル、どうしたの？
リスさん、 一つお願いがあるんだけど。
Are you also gonna ask if you can come with us?
探索に向かうんだったら私も同行させてくれないかな。
Fair. Cause she's Bestelle.
エステル。
ほら、その目を覚ましたばかりだからいろいろと肌で知っておきたくて。
Of course.
一応これでも遊撃士だからいろいろとお手伝いもできると思うし、どうかな。
わかりました。どうかよろしくお願いします。
Yeah.
よっしゃ、勝手に決めちゃってごめんね。
いや、
Yeah. Why are you apologizing?
君の判断に任せるよ。リースさんのサポートよろしくね。
任せといて。
All right. So are those two gonna be the like? Yeah, I have to take her with me. I love it. Oh, Bestelle, you're here for sure. All right. This is gonna be temporary because I have a thought. I want to go through the Estelle door, but I have something I have to do. We have to take Tita with us one more time because I forgot last time because I got caught up with the whole massive demon thing. It's not an S craft, it is just a regular craft. So we have to take her out and at least take that for a spin before we do anything else. I'm also then going to take Chloe because I want to have a good healer. So we'll just do that real quick. And then I'm going to switch Tita out, I think, for Joshua because then we can have basically our original party back. And I'm so excited for that. But for now, I'm also going to go do some conversations, and that means I'll probably switch Tita and Chloe out so we can do, like, conversing with everybody before we leave. But that's what we're doing for now. All right. Woohoo! Now, let's check out some gear, because I imagine you are woefully unequipped. Yeah, look at that. So, give me a second here. I'm going to just start doing some... oh, look at that picture. Okay. Some people that got done dirty with their artwork in this game, I think Estelle did pretty good. Look at that. She's so cute. And I think Chloe they did a good job with as well. Because we got little got our little birdie here. Okay, so Kevin, you are unconscious. We're gonna just take all this off you real quick. I apologize. All right, so I fiddled with the team. I did get Joshua mostly up to date. He's not equipped properly yet, but I got him like orbed up. But here's our setup so far. Basic here. I got her this better sword. I'm guessing she's gonna get her own, but like I had extra funds and I kind of want her, because since she's a primary character that I have to have on my team, I want her to be at her top shape. So I'm gonna give this to her, but I'm not selling this because this is obviously her sister's sword. It's like, I don't want to let that go. But everything else is looking pretty good for her. Got Bestelle here. Give her the Fool's Emblem. I feel like it's oddly appropriate, but it also just makes her really strong. In general, she's just pretty solid. I'm very happy to have her along. Got Tita here, all her gear. Chloe here, double Crimson Eyes. She probably will utilize this because someone said that the arts like up doesn't affect like healing, but it does affect power, and she does cast aggressive occasionally, so I still think it'll be useful, but not as useful as it could be on other people. Like Estelle, you could make an argument because I do have her having some aggressive orbments, which we'll get to in a second. Actually, let's do that right now. So Ries, basically a standard. I'm giving her kind of like the more actionable Heaven's Eye and attack and all that. Estelle, I basically just pumped her up. She's got like, I tried to make sure she had a decent amount of casting options in case we just wanted to have something. Like she's got all her big wind stuff, which is just nice because you can get some big area relying effects, but she's primarily an attacker. So I focused her on attack 4, evade, physical, like trying to make sure that she's just really gonna be hitting solid. Tita, basically same kind of thing of just before, just trying to give her just whatever help she can. And Chloe is a monster. Not too crazy to believe. But one thing I noticed about Estelle, I don't remember this. Am I crazy? I could have sworn her first slot here was like a win slot. But now it's just an empty slot. She can literally do whatever she wants. So you could make Estelle be anything. It's just that she has 2 lines, which is the thing. If you had an unlocked orbment like she has and had it all on one line, Estelle would just be a super caster. Like it would be impossible to beat her. In fact, if we can get our hands on some of those really strong orbs that we saw at the end of the last chapter, and maybe even like better ones that might be included in this game, I think I could turn Estelle into a demon because of this. Because if I can get enough stacks inside these slots, if they have enough like oomph to them, like the orbs that are there, you could take 2 lines and make Estelle into like the caster supreme. Like, I'm pretty sure she would make Doctor Strange look like a freaking stage puppet compared to her, because like that just, she could be insane. Tita, so like that, I thought that was really cool. But Chloe, she's basically queen as usual. With this setup, I was able to achieve basically everything down the waterline. The only thing I actually couldn't qualify her for was Cocytus, because you need 25, 12, 5. We're at 23, 12, and 7. So we're almost there. Not quite, but and the reason why I couldn't push her over the edge is because I need her to have some stone and to have a good solid amount of wind in order to achieve, you know, these top numbers here. But like we're down here with like the Laterre all, like she's got that. I also got her like EP cut. Do I have a stronger EP cut actually? Like now I think about it, yeah, I got EP cut 4 on her. Maybe I should give. I think I'll give Chloe the EP cut 4. Yeah, that's much better. Solid build. Very happy with this. And so now like her stuff is as cheap as it can be, but still look at that, 180. Ugh. That's so much, but it's pretty cool. She can do basically everything. Chloe's the best. I love her. Okay, now we're gonna wander around, talk to everybody, and then we'll get going. Man, this has already been such a long episode. Maybe we should just do the fishing door and not do a story door till next time, but a lot of this has probably gotten cut, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, there's new books to read as well. Kevin appears to be asleep.
よしはケビンさんの具合はどう？
Yeah, how is it, Joshua?
今はよく眠っている。時々うなされているみたいだけど。
That's not good. Yeah, see? That doesn't sound good.
何しろ精神的な負荷が肉体に作用しているんだ。
Hopefully we put something under his head. He's gonna wake up with the sorest neck in the world laying on a slab of rock.
今はゆっくり休むしかないだろうね。
そっか。よしや、もうしばらくここをお願いね。
よろしくお願いします。
はい。
Good boy.
精神的な負荷は薬物なんかを使って無理に回復させない方がいい。
Yeah.
今はゆっくり休んでもらって。
We will. Hey, Josette. You know, I know you're gonna be here like worried about Kevin, but I know why you're really here. And so does Estelle. She has a stick ready.
これでよしっと。あとは体を冷やさないように気をつけて、目を覚ました時用にお粥も作っておこうかな。
That's actually oddly sweet. Yeah.
ジョゼットのやつ、意外とできる。
It sounds like, hang on.
とても家庭的な方みたいですね。
Oh. She's like, oh, crap!
神父の方なら大丈夫だよ。僕とヨシュアで様子を見とくからさ。
Yeah, mm-hmm. Alright, I'll Gamble Jack is on the bookshelf. Okay. Alright. I think I might have to make an executive decision. We're gonna do story time, and we'll do the fishing minigame. We'll save like the story door for after that, because that's gonna mean we have a lot of front end story here, and we'll have we have a lot of book reading to do, and a lot of characters to talk to. So I apologize, because that probably means this isn't gonna be as fun of an episode as I was hoping it was gonna be, but it's also like, you know me, I'm a completionist. I gotta do everything. So I'll Gamble Jack is on the bookshelf, because we definitely couldn't find all of these. I read some of them, but I couldn't read all of it. So let's read it all. Oh, fetch me. Okay. If you're hearing this, there's timestamps. If you don't want to hear story time with Gambler Jack, skip ahead. I wouldn't blame you, but I also think it's really fun. And usually when they give us these stories, there's a reason for it. Every time so far, they've related in some way to something we were about to witness. So let's start. Chapter 1. The Girl, the Calvert Republic. There's a city in this country, a place where migrants in the east have recreated their homeland down to the bright lacquered tiles. Named the Eastern Quarter, it's a vibrant place, bustling and hot. Horrible buses trundle down the main street lined with strands of fragrant Eastern cooking as the welcoming cries of sellers raise and fall over the crowd for travelers. The welcoming cries of sellers rise and fall every nation. Okay, that sentence doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So Eastern cooking is the welcoming cries of sellers rise and fall over a crowd of travelers from the welcoming cries of sellers rise and fall every nation. The place where the cultures of East and West meet. Yes, this was the place where war that mental well. On the northern outskirts of the town was a little rundown bar. Doubtless it had been presentable once, but now the plaster was crumbling and whatever doors were left barely fit the fitted frames. Of course, such a steady place attracted clientele to match. To the lawless and violent, it was home. Sorry, looks like it's my win again, muttered a low voice that echoed through the grimy room. The voice belonged to Jack. He was a medium size, in his early 30s, man in his prime. The frayed shirt he wore had seen better days, but his accessories adorning his body were of obvious worth. Much like the brilliant blue of his eyes, none of them quite fit someone like him. Compared to the dirty, poor, desperate thugs around him, he looked out of place. Jack was always to be found at a bar gambling or sharing around with the dregs of the town, sometimes fighting, sometimes drinking. He passed his days in idle recreation. As usual today, he found him haunched at a bar. He'd been deep in his cup since early noon. It was the same as always. The day set to be just like all the others was stretching out before him. And into that familiar scene cut the shriek of a door opening. A new customer stepped into the same old bar, but who was the new arrival? It was a girl, unlike any other he'd seen before. That's always it's always a girl. The offer. The girl strode into the bar and closed the door. Without turning a rega, there was no hesitation in her manner. Clearly, her arrival was not happenstance. Her face was determined, but her confident entrance couldn't erase the lingering innocence of youth. Even the best liar wouldn't try and claim she was more than 18. Dark brown eyes and hair suggested she was Eastern, but her nose and features made it hard to be sure. The girl slowly walked forward. With each step, her cute little knees peeked out from under the trim cut of her skirt. Her outfit was a design without any sense of decoration. It seemed her taste lay more along the lines of utility than style. Maybe because of that, the Eastern symboled necklace on her chest couldn't help but look equally unremarkable. The lack of volume in that area probably had something to do with that as well. It would what a cut to make. It would still be some time before she really bloomed, so to speak. But if she's 18, then no. I mean, isn't she supposed to be fully grown by 18? In appearance bearing the size of Eastern and Western both, and simple, unblemished clothes, the girl might have been the spirit of the Eastern quarter made flesh. She caught the eye of one of the punks hanging around almost instantly. Hey, little girlie, he slurred. Wanna have some fun with me? He spoke. He grabbed the girl's waist with one greasy hand, and it happened in an instant. Her arm flew up, dislodging the punk's grip. Now freed, her hand disappeared deep in her skirt, and then slid out with a mass of gleaming black iron. She pressed it to the space between his eyes. He stared at the object for a moment before collapsing to his knees in fear. It was an Orbal gun of cunning make, a high-caliber Venner company model. If she'd shot that firearm, the punk would have lost his head instead of his bladder. Needless to say, it was not your average self-defense weapon. It's the latest model, she purred. Want to see what it can do? She was cool and calm, the barrel of the gun never wavering. Were she to fire, her aim would be perfect. Overwhelmed by the girl, gun, or perhaps both, the punk couldn't move a muscle. Everyone else in the bar remained frozen as well. All eyes were on the girl. Hey, miss. Hate to ask, but could you let him off with that? Maybe the speaker couldn't stand it anymore, or maybe it was disturbing his drink, but the husky, sensual voice broke through the silence. It was Jack. Still planted firmly in his chair, breath smelling of liquor, he continued. I'm sure he's very sorry, and he's learned his lesson. As if in answer to it, the punk started nodding his head vigorously. I've come here to gamble, the girl replied abruptly. She slowly lowered the gun in her left hand. Her expression continued to remain cool and detached. Sounds good. Come over here. Give me everything you got. Jack's words had an immediate impact, not on the girl, but on the gathered goons and hoods. They all shared a glance, each and every one of them with the dirtiest grin you could imagine. Challenge at high noon. Jack and the girl moved over to a table in the back. Unlike the others pitted and sticky furniture, the table was smooth and polished with a shine, and seemed meant for gambling. Without a word, both took their seats. Jack sat against the wall, and the girl faced him straight on. The other patrons were captivated. Helplessly fascinated by the match, they snuck glances at the pair, ears straining to listen in. The bar filled with fidgety silence. The girl's game of choice was poker. Jack accepted wordlessly. After a brief exchange to confirm the terms of the challenge, they settled on bets. It was to be 100 mira a hand, not even enough to buy a beer, but Jack considered that a fair for a match against a kid as said as much. The dealer was a small fry punk from before. Jack gave him a quick eye signal. First hand, both discard just one card. Jack called and the girl stood. Jack had two pair. The girl had just one. Jack was the winner. Sorry, little miss, he drawled. He raised his glass to her and downed the amber liquid in a single decisive gulp. Second hand. Both discard just one card. Perhaps trying to look confident, Jack let out a big, clear sigh. The girl called and Jack stood. The girl had 2 pair. Jack had the same, but the cards told the tale. The girl's hand had the high card. It was her win. What? Jack exclaimed. His hand had been toying. The hand had been toying with the glass froze. Immediately he glanced over to the punk who was dealing. The other man avoided his gaze. Something wrong? The girl asked. Her face betrayed nothing. No, forget it, he shakily responded. Had she swapped out some cards? The game had suddenly taken on a whole new angle. The look on Jack's face changed instantly. Lightly clearing his throat, Jack put the glass back on the table with his left hand, then once more he cleared his throat. The dealer, recognizing the signal, picked up the cards again. It was their code for deal normally next round. Third hand. As expected, each discarded just 1 card. Jack called and the girl stood. Jack's hand was a full house. Ha ha ha, how about that, he crowed. With a flourish, Jack laid the cards on the table. The bar patrons snickered into their cups. The girl set down her own cards without a word. 4 sevens. It was the girl's win. The bar once again returned to silence. The odds of 2 of them being dealt such good hands for that round are pretty slim. That's pretty cool though. Like it's a fun, like, feels like a spaghetti western. The daughter. Ultimately, it was the girl's win. The silence. Oh, was that? Oh, that's. I want to make sure I didn't skip one because I got. Yeah, I was right. I'm just doubting myself because I'm getting caught up in the story. Ultimately, it was the girl's win. The silence in the bar was punctuated only by the sounds of a raucous argument out on the street. Holding back the laughter bubbling up, Jack asked the girl a question. Hey, Missy, where did you learn to be this good? The girl made no reply. Instead, she took the cards into her hand and began shuffling. They flew back and forth with exquisite grace between her long, slender fingers. She dealt 5 to Jack, the 5 to herself. Show them, she demanded, and Jack obliged, hesitantly turning over the cards. His hand was 4 jacks. Her hand was 4 kings. You're kidding me. Jack was nearly speechless by the sight, to which she only said, Jack doesn't beat king. At the word king, murmurs rippled through the bar. King. It was the handle of a legendary gambler, said to be the best in the Republic until his death. The card technique the girl had shown was one of the ones that King had been fond of using when he felt like teasing Jack. Just who are you? Jack asked the girl. She gave him a long, bitterly cold glare at the question, as if they were both stupid, and one she'd been dying to answer. You probably don't know me, but I know you very well, she spat. Hello, Victory Jack. My name's Hala. I'm the daughter of King, whom you killed. You're King's daughter? Jack had never met King's daughter, not in person, no, but nonetheless, he had memories of her. King had been doting father and had drilled holes in Jack's ears with endless stories about her. I see. So King's daughter's come to kill me, huh? The atmosphere in the bar suddenly charged. All right then, kill me. The words casually left Jack's mouth. It was a line no one in the bar had ever expected. He tapped his chest. Heart's right here. Make sure you aim well. The girl, Hala, but quietly drew her Orbal gun. Her aim, of course, was Jack's heart. Well, interesting. The invitation. Hala's fingers sought out the trigger to her gun. There wasn't a man in the bar who could find the courage to stop her. The punks and hoods just cowered, whispering from their seats. Shut up, all y'all! Jack shouted over the buzz. The chat in the bar silenced. Grinding his back teeth, Jack looked straight at the girl's eyes. That's right, my goal is revenge, she seethed. But it won't mean anything like this. Hala lowered her gun. As Jack watched the barrel of the weapon slide away from his chest, confusion creased his face. Hala continued talking. Over these last 3 years, I've spent blood, sweat, and tears to learn to be as good as I am. With that, the girl threw a card in Jack's face. It was some kind of invitation. I have a stage that's better suited to settle this all ready for us, she said, never giving Jack a moment to protest. We'll finish our match there. It'll be one of the poker matches you love oh so dearly, and I swear I'll make sure you eat your full share of misery and bitterness after the slop you forced my father to swallow. With her threat lingering in the air, Hala disappeared. Unable to grasp the meaning of the girl's words, Jack just sat there for a while. Finally, he picked up the card that had fallen to the floor and read the text printed on it. Tomorrow night at 10, come to the harbor. The harbor? Huh. It can't be. A sense of foreboding ran through the back of Jack's mind. As he was about to crush the card in his hand, a small signature on the back caught his eye. Enrique. The penmanship was similar, as was the name. Oh man. Jack's sense of foreboding would prove right. I remember some of the story, but we definitely didn't even get these books at all. King. On the night of the day Hala visited, Jack headed to the harbor as the card instructed. In a rare show of sobriety, he hadn't had a drop of booze. He realized at some point that he was being followed. Just as well, he knew it was someone acting on behalf of Enrique. Don't worry, he yelled as he stopped and turned. I ain't gonna run or hide from this. No one answered. What a boring fella you are. Turning back around, Jack continued on. That night was a dark one. With neither moonlight nor a single star piercing the cloud-shrouded sky, Jack only had the road lamps to guide him as he meandered through the empty streets. And as he did, memories of the grand match between him and King flooded back. The King's legendary skills had earned him the nickname to match. He'd been both Jack's teacher and his greatest rival. 7 years ago, Jack and King had played a game for their lives. It was Jack who found himself the winner. Their game was used by the privileged in the underworld of the Republic to decide the outcome of a struggle of power. King, forced to take responsibility for losing, was killed. Though indirect, it could not be denied that Jack's win had been King's ultimate loss. Around an hour after leaving the bar, he reached the harbor. The smell of refuse and brine wafted up on a warm breeze. The enormous boat was floating on the dark night sea just ahead, waves lapping quietly at its sides. Its hull was painted a solid black, making it almost impossible to see. It was the same boat Jack and King had been on for the final fateful game. As Jack approached the gangway, he was met with a small silhouette from the shadows. Hala. Welcome, Victory Jack, she said. I really didn't think you'd come all the way out here of your own 2 feet. I have to admit, you've got courage. Normally, Jack might have had a joke or a comeback, but tonight alone, he was a different man. Glancing at Hala, he boarded the ship without a word. The light from the portal shone blue, glinting off his eyes as he passed. The sound of the steam whistle was swallowed by the lonely darkness, and slowly the ship slipped free from the harbor and out to sea. I think that was 5, right? Nope, that was 6. Yeah, so let's do 7. The Banquet of Darkness. The ship was utterly silent as it cut through the velvety darkness of the night. In contrast to the stillness of the inky black on the outside, one layer down the ship's interior was filled with light and sound. Furnishings from every part of the continent aboard the walls, and a band of musicians played a cheery song. The orbital glow of a chandelier imported from Liberl shone down on every form of human desire. In the hall built at the center of the ship, guests laughed and chatted. They appeared to be the finest ladies and gentlemen, but each and every one were part of a seedy Republican underworld. They were the type of folk that spoke of murder as easily as one would dine a dinner or fine wine. Their faces hadn't changed much in 7 years. The furthest depths of the hall reserved discreet seating for the highest rank of the lot. And just like before, there was a certain group of men there. One old man, who was flanked by several bodyguards, stood out in particular. Chief Minister Shamrock. He happened to be the host of the party aboard the ship. A long white beard trailed down his chest, and it was his symbol, and also a symbol of power. Though he retired several years before, he continued to serve as an advisor role to many organizations. Retirement had done nothing to slow his influence of the nation. He was a man well worthy of being called a monster of the underworld. Chief Minister Shamrock held his party once every year as a place for the powerful to meet and share useful information. Of course, there would be many in the group who could hardly be called friendly of their attitude. Two of such men were Enrique and Juan. Enrique, both 7 years ago and now, was the man arranging Jack's fateful gambling matches. Formerly an arms dealer, he had expanded his dealings to smuggling drugs within the Eastern Quarter a decade prior, and never looked back. For that, he became a villain on the rise, the best of a new class. Conversely, Juan was a villain whose roots ran deep in the region back to even before the Eastern Quarter. He was a kind of man who ruled from the top, commanding gangs of thugs, punks, and the like. For as long as the two were in the same business, Enrique and Juan had been locked in a vicious territorial dispute. It was the classic tale of new versus old, and neither side yielded the reggae. Every drop of blood in their attempts to claim dominance was only washed away with more blood. However easy it was to wash away, the constant splattering of blood across pavement did little to bring in the mirror from either side. It took 3 years of profitless violence for Enrique to finally propose a solution, a one-on-one gambling match between the best of the best. Even cheating was welcome, for it could hardly be called cheating at all if one was never caught in the act. Juan's first instinct was to reject the idea, but even he could see the heavy toll the fighting had taken on his own organization. Truly, the only thing keeping him from agreeing was his old-fashioned stubborn mentality. He was at his core a man greatly adverse to change. In order to set his plans in motion, Enrique brought his proposal forward to none other than Chief Minister Shamrock, who also served as the advisor to Juan's group. With him having granted the match his blessing, there was little more Juan could do but accept. Oh, that was the wrong button. Hala. The clock chimed the 11th hour. The match between Jack and Hala would start at midnight exactly. She waited in the interim in Enrique's room. Is this the right... Again, Maybe I skipped one. Nope. It just feels so abrupt, the change from 7 to 8. Set at midnight. Your father became ill and died 7 years ago. That was what the girl heard from her mother, and yet 3 years ago she learned her father had instead lost his life in a match. Hala didn't have any memories of her father. She spent her childhood with her mother. That was exactly why, though, that each and every one was engraved in her heart as irreplaceable treasures. The things she remembered best were the sights in the gambling dens. She didn't often get to go along, but to her, the way her father could silence even the most finely dressed of gentlemen with his near magical card handling was something she admired with all her heart. The last memory Hala had of him was taking her hand while she was in bed and telling her not to worry. Maybe that memory was what kept her from believing what her mother had said about her father's death. After all, how could the strong, healthy man from the memory drop dead of an illness so suddenly? It was a typical day from when she'd learned the truth. She was out shopping for her mother, and rather than take the usual route home, she found herself heading to one of the gambling dens along the back streets on a whim. One faithful whim. That was all it took for her to overhear the careless chatter of thugs who spoke of her father. It had been 7 years, yes, but it was still a match of the ages. A match which still ushered in fervent whispers among the men and women who frequented the darker corners of the gambling world. Truth left her with all the hatred so consuming that she was blind to all but one desire: revenge. Swearing she would become as good as her father, Hala obsessively frequented the gambling dens and played with the one burning desire guiding her hands. It was Enrique who, upon hearing the rumors, approached Hala first. He had claimed victory of his first match against Juan by betting on Jack. With Hala, he saw his chance to do so again. Anyone could see that. To Hala, participating in such a match would be a perfect means to an end. Cutting all ties with her mother is a sad but necessary sacrifice, and though she was young, she was welcomed as the newest addition to Enrique's group. Being blessed with talent to begin with and having abandoned all else to focus on improving her craft, it took a mere 3 years for her to master what King had spent a lifetime studying. Revenge had proven to be an incredible motivator. Hala's eyes were distant as she waited quietly for the match. Perhaps those 3 years of running through them. Still seated, she bowed her head and let out a big long sigh. No need to let the weight of this drag you down, you know, Enrique said softly to her. Don't worry, she replied. Now that I'm here, my heart is as light as a feather. Her face betrayed the lie in her words. Of a flicker of sorrow creased her features. Before anyone could notice, she was back to the same poker face as before. Right now, the only thing on my mind is seeing Jack lose. Enrique's lips contorted into a smile. The more confident he grew in his victory, the more disturbingly warped his smile became. Nostalgia. Hang on. While Hala sat and contemplated his hair past, Jack was hunched at the bar counter in the main hall. It was a spot with a full view of the setting for the match to come. He stared at the stage, never once ever touching the drink he'd ordered. The same seats, the same colors. The more he looked at it, the more it felt like as if the events of 7 years ago had happened only yesterday. A voice started Jack from his reverie. How about a drink on me? Without turning, he wordlessly shook his head. Jack didn't need to look through 7-year-old memories to recognize that voice. It was Juan, the very man who had punished King with death. I eagerly await to see what level of skill that once dethroned a king, Jack. With that, Juan disappeared. A Jack dethroning a king, huh? Jack could only smile bitterly. The clock steadily ticked away. It was 11:50. The match would begin in 10 minutes. The guests had begun gathering in the hall. Every one of them seemed to have been waiting eagerly for this night. Many had money riding on the outcome. Compared to Enrique or Juan's contest, though, they barely had anything to lose. Hala followed Enrique out into the hall, taking her seat immediately. She sat quietly, eyes straight ahead. If she was bothered by the crowd or by the enormity of the event, she gave no sign. After watching Hala take her place, Jack slowly rose from his spot in the bar. Unlike Hala, Jack had a bit of a name, and as he stepped forward, the crowd called out. Brought back more memories of his match with King, how nervous and restless he was by the shouts and cheers, how he wanted nothing more than to run away. Jack and Hala were both seated now. The card table at the center of the hall lay between them. The two faced each other, but the gazes never met. In total silence, time passed. Shortly after the two set their seats, the black-garbed man sat in a chair across from them. Just like 7 years ago, he was the dealer provided by Chief Minister Shamrock. The dealer pressed the switch below the card table. Slowly, the table in the area sank into the floor, allowing the guests in the hall a bird's-eye view of the duel. From behind their respective black-backed players, Juan's group and Enrique's group cast intense gazes at the gamblers' hands. Farther back behind it all, watching over everything, was Chief Minister Shamrock. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have the revenge match, Enrique yelled, unable to contain his enthusiasm. It's been far too long since the gambling world was given such a high-stakes game. The crowd answered Enrique's introduction with a roar of approval. Nope. I keep messing up. We're on 10 now. The match. Separated by a small card table, the two faced off. Each player had a mountain of chips to wager. Once someone's pile was reduced to nothing, the match would be over. The clock struck midnight. The silence following the chime, the great match between Jack and Hala began. At first, the match was totally even. For every hand Jack won, Hala won another. Whenever Hala won a hand, Jack had the next. Neither gave a reggae. The one who's most surprised by this close contest were Juan and his group. Everyone who had bet on Jack started to jeer and holler. During the match, time and again, Hala spoke to Jack. Using conversation to distract your opponent was all part of the game, but Hala's persistence was beyond just tactics. However, Jack never said a single word back to her until roughly 30 minutes had passed. Then finally, he broke the silence and the time with a low, textured voice. Once upon a time, there was a man. It was so soft the crowd could only barely hear, but Jack wasn't speaking for them. He continued. The man had something he admired. He wanted to become the thing he admired, and he waited to win against the object of his admiration. And through it all, he was drawn closer to that which he admired. Both laid down their hands. Jack had one pair, Hala had two. Chips moved from Jack's mountain to Hala's. What is it, Jack? Is all this part of your plan? Hala would occasionally add a sarcastic remark, but Jack just kept on telling the story. The man stole some tricks from that which he admired and practiced his own skills as best he could. In the end, his efforts eventually made him strong enough that people called him Victory. At some point, there was someone who took notice of that reputation. He thought, why not put the best against each other? There's no show that could be better. Enrique's ears twitched. Something in what Jack was saying bothered him. The man gladly accepted the offer for the show. It was the match of a lifetime, that which he admired most after all. The man's heart danced with excitement. Back then, the man was a young fool who didn't see the world around him for what it was. Certainly, he'd never had thought about what it would really mean to lose that match. Hala listened intently. At some point, she started to pay attention to Jack's story. The audience was much the same. Everyone in the hall strained to hear the tale tumbling from Jack's lips. As she played their cards, Jack had no pair. Hala had a full house. Chips moved from Jack's mountain to Hala's. Nope, wrong one. Again, the wrong one. I'm so bad at remembering which one we're on. The decisive moment. Jack, Hala chided. You're so busy talking, you're forgetting to play the game. Enough, I'll settle things here now. Hala's words reignited the crowd. The silent hall burst into excitement as she pushed forward every last chip of her pile. Perhaps she was just that confident, but Hala had already had a significant lead on Jack. He couldn't possibly accept the bet. Could he? To match my bet, since you seem to be a little short, how about you wager your life? Hala reached under the table and unholstered her Orbal gun, then set both it and the bullet on the table by her chips. If I win, you can kiss your life goodbye. The audience waited for his answer, with bated breath. Surely no one would be foolish enough to accept such a bet, they thought, but Jack's response was the opposite of what they were expecting, as well as precisely what they were hoping for. Alright, I'll call your bet. Not like it matters. If you don't kill me, somebody else will. His response sent a wave of shock through the gambling enthusiasts of the hall, with each and every one of them erupting into claps of unbridled cheers of approval. Enrique, personally, could not have been more pleased. Juan sat quietly. Whatever he thought of the situation was privy to him and him alone. The stakes were now that much higher, but neither side opted to change out the cards. Rather, they chose to place their current hands face down. So what happened to the man? Hala asked, seemingly smug of victory. Or possibly she was asking just to hear Jack's final words. The man never won against the one he admired. Silence followed in the wake of his response, and in that moment, Hala's unfailing mask shattered to pieces. Her true expression, shown at last of one so beyond her years, was a long unquenched rage that even Enrique had never seen. What are you talking about? You won, didn't you? Here, it's in this very hall. Tears flooded Hala's eyes as her voice buckled. And you made a fool of my papa. Perhaps caught in the moment, Jack was abrupt and impassioned as she was. The texture in his voice thinned as he locked eyes with her and cried, Your father never lost, not to me. He was never made a fool. He never felt a second of misery or humiliation. His pride is as intact now as it was 7 years ago. He chose to lose in order to protect everything he held so dear to him. Enrique visibly panicked upon Jack's confession, sent his thugs forward to silence Jack before he could say any more. Juan would have no such interruptions, however, and with a snap of his fingers, he had his own men step forward to prevent the ending interference. For the first time since the match began, his curiosity is now visibly piqued. The crowd was restless and clamoring for results. Once Chief Minister Shamrock gave the sign, the dealer flipped both players' cards. Jack had 4 kings, Hala had 4 jacks. It was well and truly Jack's victory. The crowd immediately hushed, but mouths were left agape, and the room was bathed in silence that was uncomfortably palpable. All eyes were on the table and all ears were perked, awaiting some kind of reaction. Seconds passed. Finally, Jack was the first to speak. See, Jack muttered. Jack can't beat King. Ooh, I love it. The truth. The charged battle had closed with Jack's dramatic upset of a victory. Putting aside Jack's words, Juan took a moment to breathe the welcome sigh of relief, for this turn of events was no small victory on his part. Conversely, Enrique sat stunned, his head in his hands. Hala stared blankly at the cards. Her eyes were wide with disbelief. No way. How did 4 kings? That shouldn't be my hand. Oh, fetch. I clicked too early. Hearing this, Enrique began to violently object, leaving no excuse unaccounted for. Jack was a cheat. He insisted the match was a wash. No, Jack was disqualified for breaking the rules. Give it up, Don Enrique, Juan commanded. If you think you cheat, how about you show us, huh? Go on, show us exactly what it is Jack did. Juan stood resolute, arms crossed. Cheating's fine as long as you're not caught, he recited. It was a core rule of the match, and Enrique knew it. There was nothing he could say back that could lay bare the trick. He stammered over his words, and he rushed to nitpick every single one of Jack's actions throughout the match, but it was no use. Impossible! Jack denied it all with a single word. This is the technique King used in his final match. I didn't know it at the time, so there's no way Mr. Enrique could. To make me win and to keep you safe, Hala, King used this very trick. Truly a trick worthy of a king. And bowed, he continued. I could never understand it. If he had a great trick like this up his sleeve, then what on earth would make him do something dumb like throw away a match? I hated him for that, you know? Hell, I spent all these 7 years consoling myself drowning in booze. Jack looked up at his eyes, catching the sparkle of the chandelier above them just right. But once I saw the invitation of yours, Hala, it started to make sense. Seeing Mr. Enrique's name on the back was all I needed for everything to fall into place. Do you remember, Hala? On the same day as that match, you were in bed after being struck with a very sudden illness. No one could explain what it was? Jack's words hit Hala like a fish on a hook. So what? Does this have to do? So what does this have to do with anything? Jack ignored her and continued. Around the same time, I'd heard a certain rumor about Mr. Enrique. Word was, he'd gotten his hands on a hell of a poison. Something along those lines, anyway. Perhaps Jack wasn't the only one who had heard this rumor. Curious that they were listening in on Jack's story, a flurry of whispers swept through the audience upon the mention of the poison. Kind of whispers where one couldn't understand a word for word what was being said, but any onlooker would know exactly what everyone was thinking. Enrique could only stare at the ground and bite his lip. The facts were difficult to piece together. There was Hala, who would just so happen to fall ill during the worst time for King. There was Enrique, who so conveniently acquired a poison during the best times for him. And then there was King, who had so blatantly lost against me on purpose, Jack listed. There's an easy way to explain all those things, and it boils down to one simple truth. Juan leapt from his feet, fury written all over his features. He began screaming at Enrique. You! 7 years ago, you poisoned this girl! Then you threatened King with it! Ooh. Gosh darn it. I was like, oh, whatever. Chapter 13, The Sense. You put poison in this girl and threatened King, didn't you? Every word of Juan's mouth was akin to being punched in the gut. Blow for blow, her body could only stiffen. Before Juan's accusations, Enrique desperately scrambled to put all defense together. He tried violently to hide how flustered he was, to conceal how sweaty his palms were, but never was there a poorer actor on a stage. Indeed, the way he begged and pleaded his case before such a massive jury was almost humorous. Everyone was quick to believe what Jack was saying. Of course, there was no proof that the tragedy had occurred at all. It could easily have been cleverly arranged string of lies, yet Enrique's rambling professions of his innocence didn't make any sense to them, whereas Jack's story, a few words, made far too much. In the underworld, betrayal was a constant companion. That was precisely why, however, plain logic trumped proof time and time again. So long as the masses felt your story made the most logical sense, proof, if it be present or lacking, didn't mean a dang thing. Enrique knew this rule as well as any other man, woman present, as it slowly dawned on him that his punishment was only a matter of when, not if, he ceased his prostrations. Hala merely continued to stand as still as could be. She was being held upright by a throng of emotion, and her mind worked overtime to catch up with each new feeling. The revelations of that night had brought. My father never lost, she whispered. The truth of the confirming balm to her heart, but at the same time it filled her with a deep sense of loss. Her father had chosen death himself. The very thought of it was far too big and far too sad. The flames of revenge that had fueled her action suddenly and utterly went out, and as her once burning drive died, all that remained was a thin smoke and cold white ash where her anger had been. That means that for me, Papa... The feeling that began to well up turned to words as she parted from her. Everything that had bubbled up inside her surged without. Falling to the floor, Hala curled up in a ball and began to cry like a child. As he glanced from Hala to the corner of his eye, Juan put a hand on Jack's shoulder and patted him in a congratulatory way. Tonight went better than I could have possibly imagined. I'll do anything you ask if it's in my power, he whispered to Jack. Then give me Hala, Jack whispered without a moment's hesitation. Juan was hard-pressed to answer. No matter how pitiable he found Hala, she was still a pawn of Enrique's. Even if there were to be punishments meted out to the events of 7 years ago, her freedom was very much in question. Give Jack what he wants. Will it really be such a problem? The voice from behind both of them froze. Every single person in the hall, all eyes turned to a single point. The one who drew their gaze was the bearded consultant of the underworld, Chief Minister Shamrock. Giving him the girl isn't a problem, isn't it, Enrique? Enrique nodded weakly. At last, the ship was filled with cries of celebration. To each their own wish. Jack and Hala returned to the harbor at dawn. The enormous ship disappeared into the morning fog, gone before most knew it was even there, as if it had been played an illusion all along. What will you do with me then? Hala asked. Nothing. You're free, Jack shrugged nonchalantly. Doubt anyone will ever try to use your life in a deal ever again. Do whatever you wish. Hala was quiet for a moment, then she said, Hey, Jack, why? Why would you do this all for me? Jack gave her a small, real smile. King gave his life to keep you safe, and by saving you, he saved my life as well. I'm only standing here today because of him. Don't you think it's only natural I'd use the life he gave me to make his wish come true? Wish? What do you mean? Jack's smile disappeared. I believe your father regretted setting foot on those gambling dens. Not because of the game, but because there was no way a guy like him would ever risk putting his daughter in danger for anything he adored, you know? You know. He adored you, you know. You should have never got wrapped up in this dark world, Hala. I'm sure he would have wished the same. Hala didn't know what to say. Jack continued. If you get what I'm saying, then run off from here and don't ever come back. With that, Jack strode away and left Hala standing there by the sea. The Calvert Republic. There's a city in this country, a place where migrants from the east have recreated their homeland down to the bright, lacquered tiles. On the northern outskirts of that city was a little rundown bar. Over a week had passed since the fateful game. Jack could still be found there in the same dingy bar. As always, he was at his liquor starting from noon. He had settled things with his past, but he's still the same man as before. No, he was changed. He drank less, and when he drank, he didn't throw it back like a man dying of thirst, but instead sipping slowly and appreciating the taste. And that day, once more, the doors of the place opened with a sound like a shriek. A new customer stepped into that very same bar, and the new customer was Hala. Jack choked on his whiskey. Hala, what are you doing in here? This ain't the kind of place you should be in. Ignoring his sputtering, she pulled up a stool and gave him the most dazzling smile. Hey, Jack, she said. Let's play a game. A real shocker of a match. Only this time, all bets are off. The end. Cool. Yep. Good story. Definitely never read it before. All right, let's go talk to some folks. You know what? I just realized something. So we read The Gambler Jack, and I was just thinking to myself, okay, so we should be paying attention in the story to see how that ties to what we're seeing. I think I might already know. The whole point of the story was that King, in order to protect someone whom they cared about, his daughter, basically arranged for his death in a way and saved his apprentice at the same time, willingly sacrificing himself to make sure that the ones that King cared about, his apprentice and his daughter, were safe. We just heard about Kevin being distraught at the death of Rufina. What if she made the same choice that King did? What if Ries was being threatened and Kevin was in danger? And so she basically set it up so she would die, that protecting both of them, but they wouldn't see it that way. Or maybe Kevin had a bit of an idea about it and it tore him up like it tore Jack up. Look at, here's the drinking crew.
そうだ、ジンさん。キリカさんがギルドの受付を辞めちゃったって聞いたんだけど。
まあな、実はちょっとした筋からスカウトがあってな。あいつも悩んでたようだが、いい機会でもあるしな。共和国に帰ることにしたらしい。
そっか、 そういう話だったら仕方ないわね。ザイスの支部にキリカさんがいないと思うと少し寂しい気もするけど。
I agree.
何を言ってるんだエステル。今は武者修行であちこち回ってるんだろ。共和国に直接会いに来ればいいじゃないか。
あ、そっか。それじゃあこの世界から脱出できたら遊びに行かせてもらおうかな。
Sounds good.
待ってるぜ。
Me too. Let's all go to the Calvard. This sounds like a fun
確か
place.
に影の王は得体の知れん人物だが、あの女性の霊は俺たちの味方のようだしな。これだけの実力者も揃っている。必ずどこかに勝機はあるはずだ。
I have my prediction.
聖魂を宿す守護騎士に敵対している黒騎士と影の王。はあ、これは相当手強い相手かもしれないね。というわけで僕は少し羽を伸ばさせてもらうよ。聖魂を宿す守護騎士に敵対。これは
Oh, so it's the same.
何はともあれ、あんたが無事でよかったわよ。
I know, right?
私？
そうよ、あんたがいない間のヨシュアったら平気そうな顔しちゃって。
Of course.
そうだったんだ。
まああんたは影の王ってやつに捕まってたわけだし、ヨシュアとしては心配でいても立ってもいられなかったんじゃないの？
Yeah.
そっか、いつの間にかそんな状況に。でも捕まってたって言ってもそういう記憶とかないし、あんまり実感がないっていうか。
よかったよ。これでお姉さんも安心して飲めるわ。
Yeah.
ちょっと何勝手に納得してんのよ。
でヨシュアとの方は進展してるの？
Oh, yeah. I want to know.
知らねえってば、いきなりそういう話題を振らないでよね。
Answer the question, Estelle.
何よ、教えなさいよね。
Oh, that's a bit awkward.
確かに少し気になりますよね。
あんたら二人も揃ったことだし、そろそろ本腰を入れてこの世界から脱出しなくちゃね。
Yeah, I want to know.
リーさん、怪我はもう大丈夫なんですか？
ええ、問題ありません。なんとか直撃は防げましたから。
That's good, because it looked like it flat out destroyed you.
でもやっぱりケビンさんたちを助けに行ったんですよね。
アネラスさんの言葉、私なりに考えさせていただきました。
You know, it's actually kind of crazy though, because we had the cube, right? That means that Ries had to run through all the layers to physically teleport herself there. That's quite a journey to go try and help him. That's I hadn't thought about that, but that shows a lot of dedication.
ケビンが騎士を目指したように、私にも銃騎士としてここにいる理由がありますから。ですから。
そっか。あとはケビンさんが目を覚ましてからガツンと言ってやるだけですよね。
So she's like part of the thing. She needs to like tell him why she's doing this.
はい。ありがとうございました。
Yeah.
いいんですってば。
These two are gonna be good friends.
アネラスさんとリースさんって仲いいんだ。理由は簡単。それはリースさんが可愛いから。そっか。
No.
納得。無事エステルちゃんも解放することができたし、あとはケビンさんが目を覚ましてくれれば一安心ですよね。
I haven't seen Hunky Dory in a while.
あの神父、守護騎士だかなんだか知らねえが無茶しやがって。ぶっ倒れる前に一言断れっつうの。
You were there. We were gonna die.
あんたが言うか。
Yeah, I know, right?
あの神父、初めからうさんくせえやつだとは思ってたが、ぶっ倒れてんじゃねえよ。
Yeah. Duh.
ケビン殿が聖杯騎士であるということは承知していたつもりだが、ドミニオン第5位、それほどの人物だったのか。ドミニオン、まさか
聖杯騎士団か。
Oh, interesting.
オリビエも一時期熱心に調べていたが、しかしあの力を見せつけられれば 調べる理由もわかる気がするな。
Oliver's very clever. Like, Olivier is so much cleverer than we give him credit for.
あの悪魔を一瞬で狩る能力。まさに異能と呼ぶべきか。
Yeah. These stigmas, there's something about them that's very, it's very uncomfortable. Like, it feels too... It's odd. Like, there's always 12, and they're in people, and like, there's just like, it's just randomly dictated. So like, maybe that's kind of why people have so much faith in this universe too, because like, that's some pretty steady evidence to say like, yeah, there's some kind of masterful like magic powers going on at this point, right? So we're gonna go ahead and grab Oliver and Zen, just for talking to people. Okay, we gotta go talk to Tita, and we gotta talk to Chloe. Oh, I'm surprised Chloe's not here. Maybe she's down with Kevin. Yep, there she is.
それにしてもジョゼットさんってとても器用なんですね。あんなに手際がいいなんて。そうかな。エステルさんからお話は聞いていましたけれどジョゼットさんってとても器用な方なんですね。
So, we're not going to comment on the fact that like Joshua's here, you know, Carrie for Kevin, and it just happens that Josette and Chloe are just also here, you know, making sure that Kevin's okay. It couldn't possibly have anything to do with, you know, any other reason or motivation. Estelle, you need to grab your man and hold him tight. There's sharks in the water. I don't think Chloe would aggressively go after him, but then again, knowing how Estelle feels about him, and knowing about like the connection they have, she still did basically like confess. No, she didn't just basically. She flat out confessed to him. Something to be kept in mind, Estelle. I think Chloe, if she had a genuine opportunity, would jump at the chance.
エステルお姉ちゃん、ケビンさんの具合は？大丈夫だと思う。今はヨシアとクローゼが様子を見てくれてるし。
Yeah. Oh, it's kind of funny because like if I had Chloe with me, she would just say Joshua probably.
そっか。よかった。
申し訳ありません。
どうしてリースさんが謝るの？
それもそうですね。今のは忘れてください。
Oh, interesting.
忘れてください。ケビンさんの具合も心配ですけど、影の王さんはケビンさんが聖光を使って倒れてしまうことを予測していたみたいでした。
Exactly. She's got it. She's thinking along the lines I am.
それで、そうしたら影の国は完成に近づくって。
Oh my gosh. Why is Tita the only one talking about this?
ここから先の探索は今まで以上に気をつけてください。もう誰も。
Aww. I agree though. She's so right. All right, let's get our squad together. All right. Okay. I think we're all set. Let's go and get going. Now, again, because of the nature of these things and the way this is played out, we are going to be doing the fishing door, and we'll save like the story door. So it is, oh yeah, so the girl shines like the sun, and the boy who cherishes the light be her side. So yeah, because like, so in order to open this door, we need to have Joshua with us, and so we'll do that next time. For now, we will go to the girl loves to fish. And before we do the fishing, we have one little thing we have to go do. Alright, here we go. Orbal gear.
Come on, everyone.
Oh, baby, look at that sucker. Cool. Alright, so it changes her form. So let's see. So you can climb out for free, resume normal combat. Has charge, body slams foe, knocking them backwards, faint 20%. Smoke missiles, keep that. Launch smoke missiles, blinding foes in the area. Bullet barrage, unleash a barrage of bullets on foes. That's awesome. Alright, go punch this knight. Boom! Oh, that's so cool. I love this. This is amazing. I wish we could use this all the time. Now, one thing I'm going to test before we go back to the fishing minigame is I want to see if she stays mounted in it into the next combat or if you have to expend 20 CP every time you want to use it. No. You have to equip it every time. Gotcha. Well. Let's try a bit of a Supreme Hurricane, shall we? Get him, Estelle. Woo! Beautiful.
Nanji, 長魚をこよなく愛する娘.
Yes, time to open the door. Fishing minigame, whatever this is gonna be. Did the sun always miss one of its like little like prongs, or is that just? I feel like it's probably just the way it's always looked, but I just didn't notice.
ここに記憶のかけらと祝福を与えん.
Here we go. Once upon a time, there was a girl called Estelle, right, who absolutely loved fishing. Meanwhile, in Gralsritter, there existed a group of dedicated men and women who prided themselves in the sport. They were called the Fishermen's Guild. What else could possibly be called fate? Their two paths would cross. This is their peculiar story. Chapter 1. Our story begins at the lakeside. There's chapters? How long is this gonna be? Most of these things are pretty short. Oh, it's just summarizing what happened in the former games? At the side of the Valeria Lake lies a quiet little place by the name of Kingfisher Inn. Seeking a break from her work, Estelle decided to visit for some well-deserved relaxation. At first, she had gotten exactly that. The fishing lover that she was, she decided to borrow some gear from the inn and make her way out to the pier and enjoy some quality time there. She saw one successful catch after another, and before long, her bucket was teeming with fish. But then there was Lloyd, a member of that one and only Fisherman's Guild that happened to be at the very same inn on the very same day. He was having the opposite of the young Estelle's lucky streak. The moment he'd arrived, he set off the boat to begin fishing. And try as he might, he hadn't managed to catch so much of a single fish. Now feeling thoroughly defeated, Lloyd motioned back towards the inn. Upon the boat approaching the pier, however, he caught sight of none other than the very pleased Estelle rejoicing at the size of her most recent catch. The sight was all it took to give rise to Lloyd's competitive nature. Now thoroughly fired up, he approached her and challenged her to a special kind of duel.
というわけで、これから君に爆鳥5番勝負を挑ませてもらうよ。
Okay, so this isn't the action. I thought it was just a retelling of the story, but no, this is something different.
爆鳥5番勝負?
I guess her outfit should have clued me into that, though.
そう、爆鳥勝負。釣り人たちの誇りと名誉をかけた、いわば決闘さ。そして調香師団のメンバーたる者、一度この言葉を口にした以上、もう後に引くことはできないんだ。
This guild is this cult is very intricate.
さあ、今こそ自らの持つ最高の長具をかけて勝負だ。
なんだかとんでもないわね。
Yes.
それに長具をかけるも何も、私が今持ってるのは全部宿からの借り物なんだけど。
なら君の方は何もかけなくてもいいさ。これは私の戒めなんだ。
選択の余地はないみたいね。
All right, here we go. How's this gonna work? Oh my gosh. Tells you 5-round English drill. You're on, Buster. Look at this art form. That's so sweet. Like, I'm guessing this is a reference to a specific type of game. Alright, so let's see the rules. Estelle and Lloyd will face off in a 5-round duel to the century. Both will take turns at fishing, and whoever has the most points at the end of the 5 rounds will be declared the winner. Once Estelle's turn, you'll be prompted to choose a rod and bait to use. Certain baits can only be used with certain rods. After choosing, the game begins. When the exclamation mark begins, quickly press to confirm the catch of the fish. Certain fish can only be caught with certain bait, and in addition, some fish can be used as bait to catch other fish. Different varieties of fish are worth various amounts of points, making trying to catch the more valuable ones the key to success. More valuable ones are also more likely to escape, but don't let that deter you. All right. So it follows very similar rules to the game. Yeah. Okay, so I get a choice. I wonder if these choices are based on my save, because I don't remember if I imported a save or not. I'm sure I did, just in case, if I could. But yeah, let's see. Standard fisherman, small to medium-sized fish, heavy tackle, exclusively with big fish, masterpiece design of pursuit of giant fishy foes. So I'm gonna start with the Pisces heart. River bug for lakes and rivers, and this is for lakes and rivers as well. Earthworm for lakes and rivers. Probably better, but fish love them. Let's start with the river bug. Yeah, it's the same. Is it really? Salmon, 6-6. Yeah, it is. Alright, so close to my size. I don't think I can use that fish as a fishing one, so I think I'm gonna use this again. Okay, so I can use salmon. Okay, let's try it then. Let's try this. Since it's during May season. This is gonna be tough. Come on. Okay. Let's see what we got. A snakehead. Ooh. I think the points didn't go down either, so using what you catch as bait doesn't affect your points at all. See, I thought it would like cost your points. Maybe it did and I didn't notice, but I don't think it did because like that was worth like 160 or something. 34 rainbow trout. Yeah. See, I could use this as a bait, but it's not much I can do. So he has to get 149 points to beat me. Like 150 points to beat me. It looks like it is a big one. Yeah. Whew. God, it's getting close. But we win.
だがいい勝負だった。負けて悔いはないよ。さあ、これを受け取ってくれ。
Alright, what's this? Lloyd handed Estelle a silver-colored lure.
これって銀曜石でできたルアー？こんな高価そうなもの受け取れないわよ。
私は君に決闘を挑んで、そして敗れたんだ。それとも君はこれ以上私に恥をかかせる気かい？
Not my honor.
さあ、どうか遠慮なく。
Alright. I'm guessing there's higher tiers we can do, because that was just chapter 1. Estelle accepted the silver lure from Lloyd. Though feeling bliss thanks to her victory, she was also blissfully unaware of what fate had in store for her. Tougher fights, huh? Received fishing set. Received 5,000 Mira. Continue to chapter 2? Why not? We're just gaming in the capital. Oh no. Today was yet another day in which Estelle found herself roaming the northern block of Gralsritter city sewers. Her objective was simple, defeat a wanted monster for the guild. But down there, she found more than just monsters. In addition to the nasty she'd been accustomed to braining on a regular basis, she also came face to face with a young noblewoman whose delicate demeanor could not have looked more out of place. Estelle essentially certainly hadn't expected this. "What are you doing down here?" she asked. I should do her old classic voice. "What are you doing down here?" That's how I used to voice her. The woman tittered and responded as if the answer were the most obvious thing in the world. "What else? Fishing, of course." The noblewoman's name was Noroch, and as it turned out, she was a member of the Fisherman's Guild. "Do you really have to fish here of all places, though? I mean, what if a monster finds you?" Estelle made up her mind to try and escort the woman back to the city with her. But Noroch had other ideas. She refused to budge from what she felt was prime fishing spot. The two were soon locked in a battle of pure stubbornness. Neither would simply back down gracefully, as it wasn't in their natures. It was in the middle of the heated argument when the silver lure Estelle kept on her person fell from her pocket. Wait a minute. It said we got a fishing set. Does that mean we can fish in this game now? So if we go back to old areas like the Gralsritter, are there going to be... So 3 faint fishing tackles. So there's at least 2 other chapters. Another chapter after this one. So that might mean if we go back to old areas, I can fish. And that means there might be a fishing guide. That means there might be some really big, like, legendary fish we can catch in this game. Oh no, I'm gonna have to look that up, aren't I?
あなた一体どこでそれを？三種の長具ってこのルアーのこと？ロイドさんとの釣り対決に勝っても。
それは爆鳥勝負のことですわね。ロイドさんには私が勝負を挑むつもりでしたのに。いいですわ。私。
10 round.
爆鳥10番勝負を挑みますわ。
10番勝負？
もはや問答無用。
ちょっと
We can't do anything. We can't help it. It has to happen now. Okay. Look at this. Show me what you can do. She's on fire. Bring it on. Very cool. Okay. I won't make you watch the entire fishing arc, obviously. But I'm going to do it. And maybe if there's any highlights, I'll cut to it. And otherwise, we'll go to the end. I have a feeling this one I might not be able to win. Because the other one was closer than I expected. Ooh, okay. Heavy tackle created exclusively to catch big fish. Masterpiece of design to pursue giant fishly foes. Bamboo fishing rod. Most basic rod tackle limits the usable type of bait, but can sometimes catch surprisingly big fish. So it's like high risk, high reward. Alright, since it's our last cast, we're gonna do a gamble on the bamboo. Because it might get us a big one. It probably won't, but it might. Nope, just a little one. Liberl carp. Alright, so total stands at 833 points to 223 points. She literally needs to catch a like 611 point fish. She basically has to fish out the Loch Ness Monster. Let's see what she does for her last round. Yeah. Come on, lady. What are you gonna do? Oh, she did get a big one.
Oh no!
You lost it! Wow, we obliterated her. Like, the first match was harder. Now come on, let's go. We had fun. No. I just wasn't worried about losing. Oh, Estelle wasn't, at least. She did the golden rod from Noroche. Fetch me. As you know, no, we don't. No one's told us any of these.
まだ私たちのリーダーである団長がいらっしゃるのですから。
団長？
そう。超高師団の創始者にして最強の腕前を持つ御人。
Mr. Fisher。
フィッシャー団長のことですわ。
So if his name's Mr. Fisher, and it's not just a nickname he's given himself, his last name is literally Fisher, and he sets up the Fisherman's Guild, he set up his personal men's guild. And that sounds even weirder.
たとえあなたが勝負を望まなくても、その2つの長具は団長を呼び寄せる。いずれ嫌が王でも団長と勝負する時が来るはずですわ。
He's inevitable, like an oncoming storm.
そういうものなのかな?
Alright, chapter 3. At this point, Estelle had no idea just how capable this fisher may prove to be. All while there was a small part of her that couldn't help but regret biting the lure of the Fisherman's Guild, there was a much greater part that couldn't deny wanting to see where this journey would take her. Alright, Plate of Excellence. 5,000 Mira. We've had 10,000 Mira from this game alone so far. Continue chapter 3? Absolutely. This recording is one of the longer ones we've done too, and it's like what I assumed was gonna be an abridged one. Azalea Bay, by the way. Oh gosh, here he is. Along the shore of the Gull Seaside Way near Rouen, the decisive moment Nonot had foretold was finally to come. Whether their meeting was a coincidence or fated all along, no one could possibly say. Estelle was idly walking along the shore, no particular adequate reason. They're just not even trying. When all of a sudden, a single small yacht drew closer and closer. The yacht eased as close to the shore as it could, safely get, and from the top of it stepped a fine man. He was a gentleman in a tuxedo, the sea extending into the distance behind him, making him an equally elegant backdrop. As soon as she saw him, she knew he was the leader Noach had spoken of. Mr. Fisher, bearing the title of Avid Angler and known by the nickname of the Fishing Baron.
Oh, そのルアーと竿は。
あなた団長さん？私は。
She's like, hi, I'm happy to meet you. He's like, it comes to this.
それ以上は言わなくていいのである。私はずっとこの時を待っていた。
Okay.
今こそ君に爆鳥15番勝負を挑むのである。
I knew it was gonna be 15, but ugh.
15番、こりゃ長丁場になりそうね。
Yeah, you said it.
さあ、いざ勝負なのである。
Alright, same as it goes last time. I'm gonna cut to the interesting bits if there are any. Oh, look at him standing and reeling them in on this flag. Challenge you to a 15-round angler duel. This is it. All right, let's start. Oh, we're just in the water. All right, so metal trident rod, heavy, marine star, standard for saltwater fishing, must have for aspiring fishermen, men and women, and then progress for just standard. We have shrimplet or polykite, sea fishing, or fishermen mostly use the sea fishing, extremely easy to handle and attracts a variety of fish. Alright, we'll do a shrimplet for now. Again, strategy is catch bigger fish to use as bait. I imagine he'll do a lot better than the last one, so I'm guessing this will be a big fish. Sea bass. Okay.
敵もなかなかやるのである。てや
He fished it with one hand. That's impressive. I mean, that's a good catch because you get some good. You'd often find good items with it, but point-wise, why do you act so? She acts so aggressive every time. All right, first the marine star. No, can't do the sea bass. All right, sea bass time. Well, it's a good one. Gigantgora. Fetch me! That thing's massive. Really? I figured for a final round he wouldn't miss a thing. Alright, Kasago is a bait fish, but I can't use it with that one. I have to use it with this rod. Okay. Kasago, let's see what you can pull up. Oh, looking good. Looking good. Ooh. A Claudine, 91. Not too bad. Are you serious? It kind of should be. If you're playing by the same rules as me, you missed 2 in a row. Doesn't seem like this is a good spot. Are you okay, dude? I feel like you're doing worse than anyone else has so far. All right. Oh, yep, we got another big one. Oh my gosh, it was too big. I missed it because it was too big. Oh crap. Oh, I was about to say, you need to move. Oh, you got a big one. This is where he's gonna turn it around. Yeah, crap. I was getting too cocky. God, he lulled me into a false sense of security with his 3 miscasts in a row. And now he's just getting freaking beefers every time. What was that laugh? Alright. Sea bass time. Come on. Come on, Estelle. Use your strength. I know you got those muscles. Come on. Come on. Get it in. Get it in. Get it in. Come on. Yes. Oh, I needed that. Oh. Okay. God, it's getting intense now. I think I need to. I'm guessing I'm gonna need to break 1,000 to win at the very least. Maybe like 1,200. So I imagine he's scripted. He's probably gonna get roughly the same amount of points every time. Dang it, he got it. Oh, okay, that wasn't terrible, but it wasn't the worst it could have been. But it was still like he's scarily close behind me. Gold angelfish, tiny, but hey, should work. Alright. So as it currently stands, he's going to have to get a 300 and let's see, 337? Yeah, a 337 fish to win. The thing is, I think that's capable. If he gets one of those big blue fins or something, it could be that much. So, like, cross our fingers here. Because you know what might be random is the fish. The fish might be a range of how big they can be. So, like, it could be, like, high or low roll that could determine a victory here. Yeah, I had to figure to get something big. Okay, it's not enough, though. Look at that. He eclipsed 1,000. So, yeah, if it is scripted, you have to get above 1,200 to win. Because that's a monster for a final. It's Estelle. She's Bestelle. So a silver lure, a golden rod. What's the third thing gonna be? A boat? And a rainbow-colored fishing line. Oh, okay. I wonder if you actually could fish with this, because a golden fishing rod sounds like useless. But a silver lure could be useful. A fish like shiny things, and then rainbow line just sounds fun. Yes. What? That's awesome, though. What? Congratulations, you have a full-time job.
そうであるな。今後は名誉会長を名乗るのである。これからは和光度の時代、釣り文化の普及と発展のために何卒よろしく頼むのである。
I have a feeling, though, that Estelle's oddly going to actually be really good at this.
ちょっと待って。私やらないからね。
Oh, yes, you will, though. You don't turn away. After roughly an hour of continuous negotiation in which neither of them wished to back down, Estelle was able to convince Mr. Fisher that the burden of being leader was too great for her. She was granted an honorary member of the guild instead. She was already a member. But while Estelle's duels were over, news of what had happened spread like wildfire among fishermen, spawning legends that would persist much longer. Henceforth, whenever they spoke of Estelle, they spoke of her with a new nickname. A fitting nickname for one who had triumphed in such challenging angler duels. Estelle, the Supreme Fisher. Yeah! That's our girl. Finished. Alright, Fisherman's Emblem. Ooh, gotta go look what that is. Another 5,000. So we got 15,000 mirror from all this. That's the most money we've had in from one source. That's actually worth it. Easy. Alright, so what's that fisherman's prize she just got? Let's take a look at that before we end things here. And we gotta give it to Estelle, I'm guessing. Let's see. Oh. Fisherman's Emblem. Strength 50, RNG, +1, movement -3, Estelle only. Proof that Estelle's Supreme Fisher increases attack range. Interesting. I like it. Alright. We're gonna give her the Fisherman's Emblem and the Fool's Emblem together, giving her quite a lot of boosts and negatives in very odd and interesting ways. I think it makes her exceptionally fun. Although it does knacker her movement a bit, unfortunately. Move -3 is a harsh penalty for the Fisherman's Emblem. So, we'll see. That RNG up, though, is pretty good. Like, RNG is usually tough to put. Oh my gosh, her RNG is 70? What the fetch? Oh. I don't know. So, to me, the downside here is that -3 to movement is really rough. I can try and offset it by maybe giving her a move septum, if that would make it worth it. Okay. Well, I'll give it a try, but if you have any recommendations, please let me know. But yeah, here we go. That was the fishing game. I actually kind of enjoyed it, though it's time-consuming and a little silly. But thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. We are here. We got Estelle, Bestel. Next week, we are going to dive right into the door that has her and Joshua. I'm sure it's going to be very, very good, fun story. And I really want to see what they've been up to lately, so I'm very excited for that. I know it's still yet another delay to go into the other level, but at the same time, I'm not going to miss that. And I'm glad that we can also dedicate a whole episode to it rather than me trying to slap it on like I was originally going to, because there was a lot more dialogue and interesting stuff to discuss back at the camp, let alone the book that we read. So hope you don't mind that. I had a lot of fun. Thank you for being here. I am really grateful that you're sharing this with me, especially if you're a patron and member. I don't deserve your amazing support, but thank you for it. And I hopefully will make this more fun to watch in the future and to continue wanting to support the channel. So thank you so much. You know what? Eventually we're going to play through all of Trails. It'll take a while, but we're going to enjoy every second of it. And I'm looking forward to sharing that journey with each of you. And hopefully you'll stick around to watch it. So until the next video you're watching me, I have to see me in next. I'll see you there.